What is going on, everybody? King of Skippy Eye here, and we are playing Rule the Waves 3. I am going to do a little campaign peek for this one, and this is actually a video game. This is not a Excel spreadsheet as much as it may appear to be one. This is going to be a super quick video. I don't want to make this particularly long. I don't really even want to show a whole lot of gameplay. I just want to give this game a little exposure, because if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many people see this game and they think it's for them, that's worth it to me, to have someone see this game and think, hey, maybe I'll like this. Because if you can get past the graphics, which are not good, the battles in this game look like they're done on Microsoft Paint, but they are real-time battles, and they are fun, and they are, for lack of a better words, historically accurate. I just want to do a little overview of how this game works. You are basically the commander, the head admiral, the admiral of the fleet of your chosen country's navy. We're playing as Austria-Hungary. You can see we're at war with Italy, and how it works is you have prestige, which is basically your gravitas, your reputation on the world stage. If it gets low enough, you can lose. You have your dock size, you know, how much tonnage you can build as a country. There are naval treaties in this game, so if anyone's familiar with naval history, World War I, World War II, you have the Washington and London naval treaties that limit the gun sizes and limit the weight certain ships can be. Those can be in this game, and it can inhibit you from building certain types of ships. You're given a budget. It's broken down into monthly, the maintenance for your fleet, what it's costing you for construction, your I'm losing my words, your budget for maintaining naval aircraft, which we don't have at this point in the campaign. I believe it's 1893 in this campaign. It says it somewhere, and I'm looking all over the screen, and there it is right there, 1892. And then you have intelligence, which is basically your spy network. You have your total expenses, and it's broken down into your monthly balance. So we're losing money, and the reason we're losing money is because we are building 3 light cruisers of the Zentna class, and we're also doing a design study on the Vine pre-bread. This is the Breadnought. This is a ship of bread. Pre-dreadnought battleship. You have your map, which is broken down into certain theaters. So you have the North American West Coast, East Coast, the Caribbean, the Mediterranean, which is where all of Austria-Hungary's problems are going to be at the beginning. You can break it down on the side here. It shows which one you have selected. You can edit this to see where your ships are and move them around. This shows the type. These are corvettes, light cruisers, heavy cruisers. It shows their weight, their max speed, what they're doing. You have ships on, and you can read it, on active fleet, which is active naval vessels. Reserve fleet, they can't fight, they cost a little bit less. Mothballed ships, those are basically ships that are doing nothing but floating on the water with cobwebs in them. Trade protection, so those ships protect your trade and coastline in times of war. You can designate a ship a raider. That would be a single or pair of ships that would go out and hunt enemy convoys. They're not necessarily meant as surface action vessels. We've already seen this. You can see the ships you're building. You can see what submarines you have. You have coastal fortifications in the game. It kind of is comparable to Total War in that you have an economy to manage, and you can see a world map, but when you engage, you go down into a more localized view, and those coastal batteries are present, and they can fire at enemy ships if they're in range. You have kind of your own personal almanac that you can see your scrapped or sunk ships. We lost our Kaiser, which is why we are doing a design study on the Breadnought here, because we need a new one. You have a complete almanac that shows what ships the other nations have, the types, the tonnage of those ships. You can select and see your technology levels, your budget, location, types of ships you have, blah, 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 blah. And it does show aircraft when you get to that point. We are not at that point yet. You have an area overview. This would be useful for more colonial nations that have large spread out fleets, but you can see that in the Mediterranean, you know, the total tonnage we have, Our submarine operations value, the ability of your submarines to conduct operations, is displayed as a number there. You have a number of ships. We have a base overview. So in Austria-Hungary we have Pola and Fiume, and then in Dalmatia we have, I have no idea how to say that, Spalato, Galtero, and Zara, and it shows the base capacity, how much capacity they can comfortably house aircraft, value, blah 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 blah, batteries. So there's 6 batteries in Austria-Hungary, which is where all of our coastal batteries are. And then in Rule the Waves 3, a new feature they added is officers. So I believe it's for light cruisers and above. Yes, that we do have a commander on the Zentna. You can assign cannot speak, officers to your ships, and they have certain traits, and you can see their ability is above or below average. And then we go back. So you have the ship designer. So you can't, I'm not going to get too into detail with this because I could spend 30 minutes designing a ship. So we will auto-generate one, and you can edit its displacement, which you need to base that on how much you can build at your local yard, or you can build it abroad if you have good enough relations. You have speed, armor, armor styles. You can edit the caliber of turrets, and that is affected by your research. You can see our naval guns there. Click on it. We don't have 8 inches researched, but then we have 2 through 11, and that number is indicative of its quality. The higher the number, the better quality of the gun. So you can see our smaller caliber guns would be better quality than, say, an 11-inch gun. Going back to the ship designer, it's a good idea to just let the computer create your ship if you're new to the game, and then you can build on it from there. You have your engine priority, belt, the armor of the ship. That's broken up into different sections. You have torpedo defense, accommodation, the position of your guns. You can, let's say you wanted a super duper gun, you can add 3 barrels. You can come over here and edit the guns you have, so you can decrease, increase when you have the technology available for it. We're not going to have the weight, but you can add turrets all over the ship. We don't have the technology for it, but that is something you can do. You have secondary guns and tertiary guns, so you can have 3 different calibers of gun on the ship. You can have them in casemates, which are guns that are basically, it's a barrel sticking out of the hull in a small turret. Your arc of fire is limited, but they generally cost less. And then you can have them in turrets, and you can have them double, triple, etc., etc. You have torpedo mounts. In the early start of the game, you'll have them in sub mounts. And then graphics. And this is somewhat new for Rule the Waves 3. You can basically design your own ship. You can put in these little lifeboats if you want to. There's a graphics list you can pull these pre-made objects from. You can see the towers there, and you can see where they've clearly made this one to look like an 1890s wooden superstructure bridge. And we're not, like I said, we're not going to build a ship, but that's just a basic rundown of how it works. And then we are at war. So you have tension levels with all of the possible nations in which you can fight. And you see Germany has that little piece of paper icon. That's because we are allied with Germany in this campaign. You have your ability to build bases and coastal batteries and pick where. We can build ships. You can select from your design studies that have completed. You can build ships. You can name them when you're building them, and it'll break it down. Let's say we wanted to build a Zentna. You can see it'll take 20 months to build. It'll show us our monthly build cost for that ship and how much maintenance that ship will cost when it's done. You have your research, and it will show you, if you click on a specific group, it'll show you what you researched last here on the main screen. Let's say for fire control results, because we haven't researched anything yet, but everything you research will be in a broken down list. So you can see from the beginning to the end of the game what you've researched and where you're at in the technology tree. Details, same thing here. You can see blah, blah, blah. I don't think there's actually anyone I can show you. There isn't. Austria-Hungary builds its ships with sticks and stones. We have no technology. But that's how that works. You have your doctrine. You can change training priorities. So you can be like the Japanese Navy in World War II. You can have an expertise in night fighting. You can optimize your gunnery or torpedo warfare. You can change priorities for float planes, their search priorities, AP shell, armor piercing, and for the gun calibers, their range, and then the type of target. So you could, for say, tell your ships to target a heavy cruiser with gun calibers between 7 and 10 inch at short range with AP. But if you wanted to tell your light cruisers to target that same ship with HE, you can change that. You can change the percentage of the ammo loadout split between your ships based on the gun caliber. That's for secondary and that's for main gun, so you have the ability to do that as well. No, we don't want to change anything. And the division editor is something that is new to Rule the Waves 3. In Rule the Waves 2, you could have a very new, modern, fast battleship that would be put into a division with one of your almost to the scrapyard pre-dreadnoughts, and that would limit that unit's ability in combat. That would handicap your more advanced ship by dragging around your older ship with it. And that could handicap your newer, more modern ship with an old, aging rust bucket that it has to drag around with it. You can do fleet exercises. You can have mock battles with you. That's actually good practice. I would recommend you do that a couple times because you won't lose anything in your campaign, and you can see how the combat works. You can show your history. It shows your wars and prestige and tonnage and economy. You know, it's just another version of the almanac. It's kind of it reminds me of the pages in EU4. You know, you can see a breakdown. They're not nearly as detailed and there's not nearly as many, but they are interesting to come look at and see where each nation is. And then we have your preferences, yada yada yada. And I'm actually going to turn this down because I tried to make this video before and the battle sound was so loud you couldn't hear my rambling voice. Maybe that was a good thing. And then we have intel reports. This can show what other nations are building, and sometimes these can be incorrect, so there is a realism factor there, that what your spies are telling you is not always necessarily the truth. And we're at war with Italy, so we can also break down just what we have learned from Italy. So we know Italy is said to have increased its naval budget, which is expected when we're shooting at them. And then they also have examination of captured enemy munitions indicates that they are not ahead of us in torpedo technology. So the Italians suck at building torpedoes, which is rather funny if you know anything about Austro-Hungarian battleships in World War I against the Italian Navy. And then you can, this is your turn button, so every turn when you're at war, I'm almost positive if ships are in the same sea zone, there will be a generated battle. So we are going to look at that. Before I do that also too, you have air groups and aircraft types. We're not to that point in 1892. You don't have naval aircraft, but that is also something you can manage. You know, you can have your nation's companies compete to build certain kinds of aircraft. You have float planes and scouts and fighters and carrier-based fighters, and there are carriers in this game. Rule the Waves 3 goes all the way up to guided missile destroyers, so you can play a very long time and have a vast, diverse amount of experiences with your fleet. You start with the big, hulking, heavily armored, floating bricks with guns of the 1890s all the way to guided missile destroyers of the late Cold War. So we're going to hit next turn. The enemy is preparing to invade Dalmatia. So they want us to stop that. So this is an invasion battle. So we're going to have all of our heavy cruisers. We have a Corvette and the Zemna, which is a light cruiser. And if they bring all of that to bear, we're probably screwed. We're going to try it anyways. I'm going to hope this isn't just unbearably loud. But this is the real-time engagements. And sometimes you don't have control of your ships until you see an enemy ship, but I'm not going to be able to demonstrate that because we just found one. And then when you click on a unit, you can zoom all the way in, see your ships on the map. You can see we have our 3 heavy cruisers. They are in one division, indicated by this flag. And this flag is a square because we control it. We have our corvette and our light cruiser. And I'm in captain's mode, which means I can control everything. There are different modes. You can have admiral and rear admiral. Captain's mode limits your victory points, which is how you win and lose wars. You need more victory points than your opponent. But I like to be in control of everything. So you can do that as well. You can take full control of your fleet, and you can see down here in the bottom corner we have our cruise speed, 20, 25, and then squad max, so the fastest that ship can go. But right now, and you hit shift, right click to direct your fleet. We're going to keep them pushing in line. So that is a heavy cruiser. And I have you can also edit this in that preferences page to pause on certain things. Mine is paused when we identify an unknown ship, and also when we have hits. So if we hit a ship or we're hit, the game will pause. You can read what happened and know what is going on, which is hard to do if you're trying to control all of your ships at once and the game doesn't pause and there's 50 million fleets moving back and forth and your ship just blew up and you want to launch a torpedo and you're trying to read a wall text. It's difficult. It's a good idea if you like to control everything to pause it. But we can see, we see a heavy cruiser, another heavy cruiser, and 3 more unidentified ships. And our objective is to attack the enemy invasion transports. So we want to blow up their ships that have troops on them, because we do not want the fatherland invaded by dirty Italians. So we're actually going to try and split our heavy guns away. No, pause. We're going to split. It's still you're fighting against me here. We want you to turn. We want you to turn so you don't turn into dust going through all those heavy cruisers. And you also need to be aware too that there can be collisions. So that was actually kind of stupid on my part. I don't want to run my own ship into another. You can hit enemy ships as well. So we have them outgunned at the moment, and that's probably the convoy. So what we want to do now is we want you to speed up. We want you to speed up. This little corvette, this would generally be a destroyer unit, squadron, group, fleet, etc. But since we don't have destroyers yet, they're giving us a corvette. And this is the transport group, so we're going to slice right through their escorts and go straight for them. Because this is the objective. I'm not interested in sinking their ships. I'm interested in keeping mine alive and sinking as many of their transports as we can. We do have to be mindful of those. Also, something noteworthy. The Zentna fires 3 6-inch guns, so it's telling you what you're firing, and then the CA Marco Polo was hit, so an Italian heavy cruiser was hit, and if you want to go a little bit more in depth, you can see that it's identified with a hit by this little red circle. And it shows who they're, and you can also shows who they're targeting, their speed, their course, etc. So you can control torpedoes. It shows how many guns they have up, their ammo capacity, and then you can see for the later stages their SAMs, and then ship-to-ship missiles, etc., etc. Flooding, damage, max speed. We're just going to keep going through here. Do need to be mindful of torpedoes. They're crossing our T here, which isn't great. So we're actually going to kind of cut south because the transports are running away. Okay, we don't want a collision here. We're going to cut them in a little bit more. We're actually going to slow the speed down just a bit too. There are the battleships. So this is the big threat. We cannot beat battleships. So we're going to put the Zentna on squad max and try to slip around the battleships. Put our little corvette in the middle. Got another hit. This is... What do we do here? Do we run right up to them and try to torpedo their battleships? No. We don't have any battleships of our own. It might actually be worth it. I think we're going to attempt that. Push the Corvette back, and then you go directly for the transports. Alright, so we are hitting their battleships, but we don't have a whole lot of hope with our heavy cruisers of beating them in a gun battle. And you can see we just got hit with a heavy gun, which is not good because I think it will show us. Yeah, we can right click. Their heavy guns are 15-inch guns, so that is a large problem and more than likely a large hole in our ship. But also, you can manually fire torpedoes. So the first ship in the division is the Kaiserin und Königin Maria Theresa. Butchered that, I'm sure. But we want to select that ship and then fire torpedo, and it will show you all the ships that this individual ship has identified. And we want to shoot at a battleship. We don't have a solution, so we can't manually fire. We'll check the other battleship. We also have no solution. We switch to the next ship in the group, which is the Kaiser Karl. And he can't either. And then the St. George. He also is unwilling to send an underwater boom boom. So we'll just keep going here. We are hitting them, but they can absorb more than we can take, so this trading back and forth at close range isn't going to do particularly well. You need to zoom out to keep track of everything going on. So we're kind of getting sandwiched with our heavy cruisers, but our Corvette, bless his heart, is getting smoked by a heavy cruiser. But we are inside the merchant fleet now. And we've hit this ship 3 times. And we're gonna check again to see if we can fire torpedoes, which we cannot. So we do have a low chance of hitting. You can see the designated arc for that is not worth wasting the torpedo on. That's really not either. We're actually gonna turn into them now and try and break in between the escorts and the battleships, or the escorts and the transports. So we're going to send you as far away from big ships as possible and send Zena into this transport fleet. We're getting hits on their heavy cruisers. Got another hit on the battleship. Our cruisers are taking quite a bit of damage too, however. Okay, we're going to speed this back up now. We kind of have a sense of what's going on. Okay, we're hitting merchant ships, which is what we want. So, we have a number of objectives. You need to win the battle to prevent an invasion. If you win, okay. Yeah, I appreciate your confidence in us, but we are not going to win this battle in a straight-up fight. This is lined up better for a torpedo. We want to go to the back, though. Of course, why would you? I'm actually going to fire that one. Okay. You can actually see, it's not always accurate, but you can actually see a visible representation of the torpedo in the water. We want to continue to pull these ships away from the battleships. We are continuing to get good hits on them. The Zentna is doing good, destroying transports. Our Corvette is as well. I'm going to go this way a little bit. see these transports aren't slowing down just because they want to. They're damaged. But you can't see a health bar, you can't see really anything other than maybe like a visual representation of fire burning on them, like you would in a real battle. And now it is raining. Okay, Zitna is down here doing work. I know our objective is to stop the invasion and win the battle. I don't see that happening. And I'm not going to lose all of my heavy capital ships trying. I'm going to send them this way, this way, this way. Try to finish off these last transports, and then we're actually probably going to try and escape. And that's actually something to talk about. The earlier in the game, the more common this is, but your divisions can misunderstand orders because technically you're supposed to be on this ship right here, the flagship. So you're waving flags at these other groups of ships or individual ships and telling them what to do, and those in real life could be misunderstood and then is represented in the game. So you can say, well, that is not going where we told it to do, and for a certain amount of time it won't. Let's see if you'll listen now. Okay. There we go. We've got another unidentified ship. They're running away, so I'm going to assume they're probably another transport. We're going to pull these ships away, because our objective is to win the battle, but I'm not going to do that because we're going to lose ships, I would imagine. Okay. We've lost sight of everybody. Now, we're going to slow down just a bit and then turn around. Then you can edit the speed. So we've sighted an unknown ship. So during their turn, they've seen a ship here. Probably another transport. We're going to let him go. Only to hold formation, so I don't have to turn all the ships back around. And you can pick up survivors that will increase your victory points. But given that we only have one light cruiser and 5 ships in total, and we're up against 2 battleships, I don't want to limit the Zetna being stuck picking up survivors. Probably plenty of debris they could float on. That might be a war crime, but we won't talk about that. And you can see the little bows sticking up out of the water that indicates a sunk ship. Now the wind is blowing. We don't see the enemy fleet, and now it's nighttime. And you can see it fades over the screen. We're going to actually put to port. I don't want to engage in a night battle in which I'm heavily outnumbered, because now the second little wave, dusk is over, and it is officially nighttime. Night battles in this period are chaotic. You can't see anything. There's no radar. There's no scout planes. There's no nothing to help you other than, oh shit, there's a ship right there. So we are going to try and avoid that problem. We're going to lose this battle, and it may result in an Italian invasion. But I have the utmost confidence in the Austro-Hungarian army. Laughs. And you can tell that we have options, very fast, ultra fast. That means a lot of ships are not close by. The game won't let you do that if there are enemy ships close. And we don't want to run you aground, even though I don't think you can even do that. So when you go back to a friendly port, you can see we've got Zara, Spalato, Katero, Pola. You can send that ship to port, and it's no longer available for combat. We're going to do that too. It's moving too fast. Can't grab it. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to do this as well. Now when you do this, you can see down here time elapsed. You can't end this until you reach that number in parentheses. So this mission type takes 1400 ticks before it is done. So now we have basically given the Italian Navy free range to do it once. Our coastal batteries will fire on them if they see them, but we have basically made ourselves helpless until this engagement is over. We did manage to sink quite a few transports, and we took a little damage and delivered a little damage to their fighting ships. So now it's over, and with no opposing ships, and then the scenario length has been reached. It's 1400, and we'll see. We actually won. The game said we won, and you can see captain's mode. Our victory points are reduced by 20% because I have more control of the ships, which gives me an unrealistic advantage over the enemy, because you couldn't just steer every ship in your fleet as an admiral. That's where that signals misunderstood came from. So the Italian Navy lost 6 transports. They only had 8 total, and they needed 4 to reach. So we actually did stop the invasion. We lightly damaged 2 battleships and 2 heavy cruisers. They lightly damaged 2 of our heavy cruisers and our corvette. And you can see our corvettes there shows 3 when we only had control over 1. It's because there are 3 corvettes that were somewhere along the coast that were patrolling that are AI controlled, and that is indicated by the little triangle flag. AI controlled batteries or units have a triangle flag. Your units have a square. So we can see, you can have a more detailed look at air combat if there were aircraft. You can have a more detailed look at ship combat, so we can see, we want to break it down by their status. So this transport was sunk. So you can see flotation is all the way to the end, so they sunk. That's the structural damage. You can blow a ship to pieces, basically. And this isn't really a good showing for that. There we go, an Italian battleship. So you can see your gun caliber. You can break it down into her secondary and tertiaries. She fired her main guns 9 times and had 1 hit. That was our heavy gun hit on our heavy cruiser. She fired her secondary guns 93 times and hit once. Fired her tertiary guns 19 times and had no hits. So you can have a detailed breakdown and see how badly the Italian Navy aims. And then we want to exit the battle, leave the scenario. So it was a minor victory for us. A minor victory is a battle like that. There's no ships of war sunk. We just sunk some transports, and we both went our separate ways and let the battle be over. So they get a little bit of points for that, and we get more. And then the enemy invasion has been averted. Glory to Austria-Hungary. And then we get all of our little intelligence briefings and tension increases between the other nations, etc., etc. And I think I saw Norway. Tension between Russia and Great Britain increases because Russia controls Norway. And you can see that on the map here. These little grayed out territories like this right here, I believe Albania. There are events in the game that can allow a nation to take control of these territories. Like this would be historical Libya, so that would be an Italian possession if we were in more World War II era times or pre-war. But in this game, earlier, Russia took Norway, so now Russia has access to that port, I guess you would call it, fleet, naval base, etc. Allows them to expand their ability to project power. They can put more ships there, and increases their total tonnage. But that is Rule the Waves 3. There's a couple more things that you can go more in depth talk about. You know, you have your intel reports. You can filter it out, see what everybody's doing, your relations. This is, you know, your little graph that shows Britain has good relations with Italy. Um, Italy is at war with us, and Germany is allied with us. And you can see Germany doesn't like Italy either. America does not like Italy, which is good. Maybe America will rewrite history and join the Austro-Hungarian-German alliance. But I'm going to leave it there. If there's any interest in this video, if it gets a decent amount of views, if anybody asks any questions, says they want to see more, if anybody has any questions that I didn't cover, I'd be happy to do another campaign peek on this game. I will have the link to this game on the Steam store in the description. I would recommend anybody that has any interest in naval history to check this game out. It's a lot of fun. It's fairly simple. There's not a huge, very steep learning curve. I think actually the most difficult thing to learn is the ship designer. I think that's the most complex, complicated part that you kind of have to maybe do a little search or like find a YouTube video to see why it won't let you build your ship. But it's a fun game. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything, if you think you might want to try this game out, I would love to hear that, and I would like a like if you thought the video deserved one. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy Rule the Waves 3.